if you guys can't.
No, I asked him at noon today. He hasn't shared it yet.
Yeah, he might share it when he gets on. He's gonna join us on Zoom to go over it with you, and if you can't, then you can put it up here.
Ready?
Happens a lot. All right, we'll call this meeting to order and start with Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Start with roll call, please.
Scott Dunter.
Here.
Mark Terry.
Here.
Dan Jansen.
Here.
Preston Pipeco.
Here.
Will Roth.
Here. Okay, approval of the agenda.
I have no changes. You had asked to add the executive session on the
Yep.
end. If you want to still do that, you can add that. Other than that, I have no changes.
But that'll have to be a motion
That'll have to be a motion, yes.
Okay,
or not motion. So you're pretty well just gonna call to revise the agenda.
Yes.
And then so motion to approve the May 12th, 2025 agenda to include an executive session under ORS. Blah, blah, blah.
So much. So moved.
okay.
Is it, so what ORS are you?
It looks like
106.
Is it the
192.6602 I or L.
I? Yeah, okay.
Is that I or L?
Aye.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve minutes, April 14th, regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the April 14th regular meeting. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Review of the bills. Good or questions?
Severs and Plumbing, was that the new water heater?
Yep. Looks great, by the way. Quite a project to put that in. Barry was real happy with it.
Any other questions? Right. Moving on, hearing of individuals in the audience. Did we have anybody sign up tonight?
No.
Nope. Okay. Thank you for being here, though. New business. We have integrated programs presentation.
Let's see, didn't text me. Who's that? It's Bill with that Kaylee at the top. That's not him. Okay, let me just text him real quick, because can we then move on if he's not?
We can come back to him.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Just making sure you're here.
I just texted him and said we're ready for him whenever he gets on. So if you guys want to keep going, that's fine with me.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, so I'm just gonna skip the part he was gonna do and we move on. Enrollment report, I don't need to talk about that. You see that. Financial report, Monica, want to talk about your report at all?
Yeah,
Because it's quite different than before.
so I'd like to give you guys good news and then take it away. I just want you to know that.
It's an account.
So all along, I didn't think we were gonna be at the negative 233,000, but I was too scared to make it seem so. But I really think that we're gonna come in about what the report shows right here, except for two things. The roof is leaking above the vault room there in the office, and we kind of thought that it was, but this morning we heard it dripping, so Barry got up there again. So he's gonna have to look at that, and I have no idea what that's gonna be. I know this in July, the Oregon Department of Ed's maintenance division or whatever is coming around to look at the school, not to find out what's wrong, but they're doing this project around the whole state where they're coming to each school and seeing like what needs to be fixed and also giving estimates on what they think it'll cost to fix those things. So hopefully they can look at the roof too when they come in July, but I don't know if Barry's getting somebody coming ahead of that or not. I haven't. All we know of is that it's leaking in that one spot. It's that valley that goes right there by the front door. So, and then the other thing is, Jubal's taking the expedition in this week.
He dropped it off today.
So there's something wrong with the transmission. So that may not be a good number depending on what happens with those two things. And you'll see we got our federal forest fees, $11,251. We got our May adjustment for last year. And it was $54,000. So a little extra money there.
And that was a plus.
Yes.
Good.
So we went from negative 250 to negative 65.
To negative 65, but I don't know about that transmission on the
Yeah.
expedition and route. And then we got another 54,000 on top of that, so.
And the $54,000 isn't figured into here yet.
No,
Right.
I just got this today.
Right, that's what I thought.
That's how we're right now. No information yet. OEBB came out with their plans for next year, but no rates. No.
That's helpful.
And I still don't have any money. One thing though, Gail did get a quote from Ed Staub and Sons on the propane. And so
Yeah,
it's $1.65
Yeah, 165.
from the 142.
So up a bit, but he said it's been staying there for a long time. He doesn't, usually about now is when it goes down. He said it's not going to, he doesn't think it will. So he's waited this long. He doesn't think will. But he did say that if it did go down, that he would then adjust it for us. You know, if it went down significantly, he would make that adjustment. Because this is probably the biggest increase we've had in a number of years from him. But anyway, he said it's just crazy. It's just our economy, global economy, all of that uncertainty, things, lots of reasons. But anyway, I said, well, we've got to take it. I mean, I don't know what else we do. So
And then the Oregon Department of Ed is supposed to come out with a revenue forecast
Wednesday,
So
Yeah.
we'll see what they say.
May 14th revenue forecast. And the other thing was the PERS rate was better.
Oh, yeah, we're getting a 1.68%
Yeah.
off of our, we got the increase of about 3%. We're gonna get about half that taken back up.
So that's going to come in better than what we thought too. So.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good news really overall, I think, as far as that goes. So by the time you add the May correction in there, we're getting pretty close to squaring that off, which is what we like to do. Considering the negative balance with which we started,
Yeah.
it's not too bad. So anyway, okay. Let's see, to keep going on that, then we have, the transportation update from Jubal. He did not, I think all of the notes, everything he wants you to know is written in here. He didn't come and talk to me about anything in particular to mention in addition to this. So I think what you have there is good. Geez. And so, and I do know that he's getting ready to do this, all set up to do the annuals on the buses this year, which would be the first time we've ever been able to do that ourselves. Barring any big major repairs, that'll be good. No more driving them back and forth. So that's gonna be nice. And he feels comfortable doing. To athletic director, then Mr. Missile, your turn.
Hey, on the enrollment report,
Sure.
looked like we were down 7 kids. Is that this month only? And it's
Let me look.
213, I think.
Well,
We're down.
Down three.
We're down 3 net. I
Yeah.
think we had 7 withdraw and then 4 enroll.
we're down 7 from the beginning of the year, Dan. If you look at 227,
Down.
227 to 220,
Down.
That's
6 and little over, almost, 6.5.
Like 16 or so net students from the beginning.
Well, it says 227, 223, yeah, 213, sorry, my bad. And yeah, you're correct. And then, but only 3 from last month. So we're kind of losing enrollment, that's for sure.
They really tend to move out, move in and out during the time, during May. It's just.
Yeah,
I just read the yellow
Mhm.
footnotes and it said it looked like there was a bunch of homeschool. I didn't know if that had changed.
4 out of 29
Okay,
that have withdrawn this year. 4
Yeah.
of them.
so it's kind of a mix of the whole.
Yeah, 21 of
year.
them moved out of the area.
yeah,
1 graduated and then 3 you could whereabouts and
yeah.
they call. They have.
Mhm.
Yeah, they probably live out, I mean.
Possible. Okay, Jim,
Okay. First of all, we've had 2 student athletes that have been involved in academic issues. One has not participated in one of the sports this couple weeks ago, and then I have another one that's been out for 2 weeks that has low grades and cannot participate. So they're participating this. The second one is this week. 2024, 2025, what I'm impressed, we have not had a fight in our hallway. And part of that, I give credit to the staff being visible in the hallway. Being visible in the hallway, we don't usually have problems. So once you're there, no problems. Yeah, there's some other stuff too. We had graffiti so far this year in the girls' bathroom, but have not had any in the boys' bathroom. No destruction of toilets or anything like that. So that's been good. With athletics, there's been no ejections this year. You should get next year a certificate saying that you guys, we didn't have any injections in sportsmanship of the year award. So none of that, the gym or on the field. The other thing was, I was gonna tell you, we had a Little League baseball games this weekend. And they won the first game and they lost the second. It was a good game and they play again here this weekend. So that'll be big. And the small schools track meet for middle school track will be Wednesday at 11 a.m. Got a lot of kids there. It's going to start at 11 a.m. field events and then the running events will start at 1. We have a district track meet starting next week. Top 2 plus qualifying marks qualify for state. And that will be at McKenzie, and that will start at 10 a.m. as of now. Things change as we get moving, but at 10 a.m. So that's what I have right now.
Just kind of both elementary and high school are working to complete their state testing. We won't get those results till sometime this summer. Hosted prom on Saturday. It was well attended. Ms. Scarborough Yeomans and Ms. Baker and their leadership classes did an amazing job putting it together. Mechanical Bowl was a big hit, I think, especially for the middle school boys. My son's complaining of a sore tailbone from riding it so much. April 22nd, Ms. McAuliffe and the advanced welding students spent a long day at KCC for a final welding test with 4 students receiving college credit for welding 101. 4 seniors earned their FFA state degree. Ms. McCall's gearing up for the initial fair weigh-ins for the majority of the animals this weekend. The 30th, FFA attended the Skills Field Day last week, or will attend, and last week they attended the OSU CDE Day. April 23rd, the elementary students performed Stone Soup under the guidance of Roxanne Hand. The middle school students in Miss Nia's class finish up the soils and water conservation speeches. Top 10 presented some speeches on May 6th. May 7th was our 4th year of the Night of Excellence. Continuing to work on improving that event, adding new ways to celebrate our students. Again, this year was a combined Night of Excellence with our elementary learning fair and also an 8th grade parent
Okay.
meeting. Asher Clinic also had a booth set up, giving
Okay.
out information for that. May 14th is our spring drama performance, again, under the direction of Miss Hand, and that will be at 6:30 p.m. Still get tickets separately for $8.
Cameron, that Night of Excellence, I missed that. I was at a track. Do you have a list of who won those type of things?
I do.
Or
I can
something?
share that with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I'm
Pictures.
gonna post some more
Oh,
pictures.
pictures.
I'm gonna post some more pictures tomorrow.
They're not on the
One
list.
picture didn't come out, so I asked her to bring her stuff and I'll take out pictures. I want to get everybody.
Yeah, I always enjoy that night.
Yeah,
I miss kind of that. So.
it was good. So, okay. I just called Mark Louie. He's gonna get on. Forgot. So anyway, okay, so I had, under certified staff and personnel human resources, the only thing I had listed here, well, 2 things actually. 3. One is you guys had asked me the last time about Rosanna. It's not listed on your thing. I added it late because I just didn't get it on there. You asked about,
It's under unfinished business further down, but you, yeah,
unfinished business.
yeah, Rosanna Cahill contract discussion.
Is it on the agenda page then?
No, I'm sorry, it's just I forgot to put that on there.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm gonna talk about it now,
Okay.
because it's not on mine there. Anyway, I did ask about her spending extra time, from Lane. The answer to that was no, not at this time. She doesn't have any time to spare. But he would relook at that in the fall and see if schedule changed or anything. And if she had more time, then he'd be willing to give it to us. Also, the ESD there's a possibility that he will receive some money from a grant I've not even heard of, something targeted to ESDs. And he may be able to get back some of the money that it costs to have her. Remember, she's funded out of a grant, our SIA grant, so she's not coming out of general funds. But he might be able to offset some of that cost a bit too. It's called the SSPS. I don't even know what it stands for. It's different, something, money in a Christmas tree bill, whatever that was called. He said, so if they get it, they will back pay the districts that are supporting Rosanna's position because we're not the only school where she works. So that would be fine. But I did want you guys to know that I asked, that was the thing, to see if we can work in more time, if there's a change or an opportunity as well. So right now it's a no, but it's not a complete and total no. Okay. And then under number 3, certified A, we did interview a young lady by the name of Chelsea Caldwell for the Ag Ed CTE teacher for next year, which would be our second full-time person, which is what the Ag Advisory Board has advised us all along that they desired to do with that position, is find yet another full-time person. We interviewed this young lady and on, I don't know, I think like 4/14, it's been a couple of weeks, and did all the checks, talked to her. Janet had visited with her, contract schedule, we visited with her. Scott participated in the, you and who else? There's somebody else there too. Or was it just you? I think it was just you from the board.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was. You were there, Cameron?
Yeah.
Yes.
Daniel and, Nick.
Hannah, Nick, yeah, we had quite a group and we were all really impressed with her. She lives in La Pine. She's a first year teacher, so she's brand new. I think we all thought that she would work very well with Chelsea or with Hannah and be a nice fit in the program. She got great references, pretty excited to be here. We all agreed, we talked right then about, hey, how do you feel about her? We thought she would be a good fit for our program, not only in terms of her qualifications, but just her personality, philosophies, things like that seemed to fit pretty well. So we did offer her the position and pending your approval, and she has accepted that pending your approval. So that's what I'm asking for tonight, is for you guys to approve her as the full-time ag for North Lake. And I need a motion, and Janet put a memorandum in there for you to read about how if you do recommend her hire, how she would, how you could say that. And also understand that she would be on a 1-year probationary contract just for next year, so.
What would she be doing outside of Hannah's got her stuff? What would Chelsea be taking care of?
Well, shop classes, they're gonna have to figure out between them how they're gonna divvy up the shop classes. The whole entire ag program, kind of like Chad and Hannah divided it up, they're gonna have to figure out the same thing.
They're penciled in for stuff, but they
Yeah.
need to meet and figure out their program of study.
Right, and they're both going to trainings too, to figure out, like, you guys know Hannah's been in trainings to boost her welding skills and things like that, because she's only a 3rd-year teacher herself, so she has some things to learn. Chelsea's in the same place. They're actually going at least to one professional development I know of together. So she would just, the duties might not be, well, won't be divided up like they were between Hannah and Chad, but it is a 2-person program, so they'll have to figure out how they want to divide those up, how they want to cover that. We want to keep the ag in the classroom program too, because kids like it a lot. And I think that's important. It's a good hands-on activity for them. And then how they divvy up things in the shop and the FFA program is going to be up to them, how they feel that they are best suited.
But we still wouldn't have anybody with any actual metals or woods experience in the shop.
Well, they both have some, put it that way. They both have some. And Hannah's been studying that too this year and working with KCC on that to try to bolster her skills, because they know between the two of them, they're going to have to get those qualifications. And I think one of the things that they're planning on doing too, kind of in the meantime, is the ag committee had made some offers about having individuals come in, like experts in the field, come in and run units in the program until they can kind of get their skills up to speed. That's an option that we have as well out there. So it's going to take them a little while. It is. But that's where we're headed with that, so that eventually we can have a solid 2-person program where those 2 people can cover all the skills that we need in that program. Brandon will still probably be needed to support, and because he's very good at that. He also really does a great job in the meat lab. So I'll probably keep him there for that. So a little bit. So it's going to be a transition time, but I think we need to jump in there somewhere. And we just didn't have any other applicants who came to us with 10, 15 years of experience where they already had all those solid skills.
The PD that they're going to this summer is shop specific.
That's correct.
2 or 3 days.
And they're both going. Yeah. Anything else?
One question, with our teacher contract renewals, I think we had offered a renewal on the halftime already.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
Well, in my conversations with that teacher, she had agreed to fill the spot until we found someone else. It just so happened that when we had the renewals, we hadn't found anybody yet. So we went ahead and signed her on because she had offered to continue.
She had to sign a contract. It was an
intent to return.
But no
Yeah,
contract has been issued.
right. Good point. But it was an intent to return, and which I appreciated, because it was kind of like, I'll fill this spot until you find a person, but she knew all along we were looking for a full-time person. And that's kind of how that went. So, yeah. appreciate that immensely. Because she got us completely through this year and would have started next year had we needed her, which would have been great. So.
So they're attending a 3-day wellness seminar this summer.
I think I don't know if it's all.
Wood shop and welding.
Yeah,
Yeah. My understanding, it was just basic shop skills.
I'm not sure the exact details of it. But
So our expectation is that somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience in a shop can attend a 3-day seminar on wood shop and metal shop and then be sufficiently able to teach students how to do it for a year.
No, but Hannah's been
I'm
working.
sorry, I guess, let me speak. I've got nothing against Chelsea. I don't know Chelsea. I just feel like this is not fulfilling the need that we have for our shop program. Feels like we had an applicant come in the door that wants to work here and that's good enough for us, so let's hire her. And I don't see how it puts our shop program in any better position than we are currently. That's my personal opinion.
We had 3 applicants, they were all brand new teachers. We didn't have any other applicants.
When I first started teaching ag, I was in the same boat. The first year teacher didn't have a lot of experience. Luckily, somebody hired me, I was willing to give me a chance.
I get that. I just feel like we already have that in the shop currently. I mean, 3 years, but
But do we have somebody who applied that has all this experience that you're wanting?
no, but that's. I'm not, what I'm saying is we don't necessarily quit searching.
Yeah, do you just fill a position, fill a position?
You can get through the OSU Ag certificate program without taking any shop classes.
Absolutely.
So OSU is not helping the
Yeah,
shop
yeah.
situation.
We're not-
And most districts split it to where those aren't even ag classes, they're CTE. So you've got somebody from within industry that has 10 to 15 years experience in welding or woods or whatever, and they fill those going through that certificate program.
But we talked to Reynold Gardner at ODE. And it's, you have to have significant experience to get the CTE endorsement. Is if you don't have a degree in the field already.
Yeah, and I guess I just look at it too, Preston, like any first year teacher that you're gonna hire for really anything doesn't have all of the skills that they need coming in fresh out of college. They just don't. And you have to pick who you think is the best candidate to fill in that spot and give them a chance to grow. And I think we all felt that she was that person for us. We had, I think, 3 applicants, interviewed 2 of them. She was our choice. And the Ag Advisory Committee has repeatedly stated that that is their goal. They want a CTE licensed, shop person in there. What impresses me about these 2 gals is they may not have all the skills now, but they're both willing to get them. It's not like they're saying we don't want to teach shop, we just want to do FFA and the greenhouse. They're both willing to work on them and get them, which is why they're going to this, because they understand that that's a program we want to keep going. And based on the Ag Committee's repeated ongoing encouragement and stating that this is what we want to keep going in our school, they're willing to do that. They're willing to take the schooling it takes to keep that program going. So that's when we interviewed them. We said, this is what we need, this is what we want. And it's not like she's taken nothing. She just hasn't had a lot of experience. She has taken some welding, some woods, and same with Hannah. So they're just kind of at the beginning stages of that part of their learning, in my opinion. So.
And bringing in sound like some guys from the Ag Advisory Committee were willing to come help out some.
That's
Yes.
what they keep telling us. And Scott, you might want to speak to that a little bit because you've gone to those meetings if you want to. But
It seems like a great idea. if
I
it
know.
Actually,
if you can do it,
actually work.
You know,
yeah,
we hired Mike Muret as a classified sub so that he can come.
Right.
in And do that. It's just the end of the year and Hannah's like, we're wrapping up everything right now. There's not a whole lot. He came in to help with, kind of the shop skills stuff.
Mhm.
But he came in a day or two. He had something else going on, so his schedule didn't quite coincide with hers. As far as getting the shop skills stuff, so I think he was only here 2 days, but she might have him come in another day or two, but she plans on next year utilizing him if he's willing to do some of these shop classes, like a guest teacher or whatever that she's
Right.
with him on.
And I think I see that as a commitment and an offer that the Ag Committee has made just to kind of help bring in some experts, even if you knew what you were doing, if they had welding skills, shop skills, more than they currently do, even to have, if there is a guest they can bring in to show them how to do something else, something differently, something better, they're willing to do that. They have just offered their time and they know people who know things that they might want to
So-
bring as well. And I'm fine with that if we can get people to come in.
Looking at our past applicants for this position who didn't have a degree. The closest one was the applicant who had a degree in biology. We could have made that work. Could have got a CT endorsement within a year or two. It would have been great when backed out. Everybody else we've looked at doesn't have any kind of degree whatsoever. And after talking to Reynolds says they won't. ODE will deny us. So we can throw our district support behind it. But when that application goes to ODE and TSPC, they're gonna say, no, that person can't do it. Because there isn't a degree, there isn't even an associate's degree.
Yeah.
With some of the people that we've been looking at. And so he says, yes, you can write a district support letter, but I'll tell you right now, without a degree, ODE is gonna deny it. So that's where we're at on trying to do the CTE stuff. Because we met in a phone conversation.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out other avenues.
So can we put together some sort of like aggressive training schedule to get these two up to par as soon as possible for shop skills then? This is the direction we're going.
Sure.
I
Yeah, I'm totally fine with that. And
mean, having two inexperienced people running the shop is a safety concern at the least.
yeah. No, we absolutely can do that. And I usually encourage all of our new teachers to get whatever they're hired to do is to get as much PD as possible with whatever they need. And these two gals are gonna have to figure out who's gonna teach what. And I don't think it's bad at all. They're gonna go to this thing together because they both need those skills. So great. It's during the summer. They can go, don't have to worry about kids, subs, any of that. They can just go take their days and do it. But yeah, I'm totally fine with that. Support that 100% on them getting up to speed as fast and quickly as they can with whatever they feel their needs are. Shop for one, but other stuff as well.
I think that's where the Ag Advisory Committee was kind of coming from as well, Preston, with different members that have different skills. And like Gail mentioned, that the contacts of other skills available to not necessarily just come in and teach a class, but come in and give some direction for those skills to the teachers even.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great, but I'll be honest with you, beginning of the school year, I offered Hannah the whole library of my stuff. I taught shop for 10 years, and so I can sit down with you and work some of this through. But I said, I am not going to pester you or follow you. So I never got a phone call, never got anything. So and some of that's a young teacher, maybe afraid to reach out, but maybe that has to be tied to her evaluation where she reaches out for that kind of support. And I'm not just saying Hannah, maybe this other teacher as well, but to somebody, because they cannot run a shop the way it's been ran this year. There's some serious safety concerns in it. And that has to be addressed and,
I can stop this conversation right here without the teachers present.
Yeah, we're kind of getting a little
Okay.
the
personal.
teachers, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there's some, like he said, the safety concerns with the shop environment, it's a laboratory environment, gotta be very careful in that. And I think there's some concerns. And so, somehow we gotta tie it to evaluations, but that's assuming we're doing evaluations too. And I
That's-
think that's happening, so we'll just move on
Yeah, we need to move on.
to that later, because I'm just gonna.
So the question is, unless you have any other questions, then the question before you is, do you approve of Chelsea Caldwell's hire to be the ag science teacher?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve to hire Chelsea Caldwell as a science teacher on a 1-year probationary contract for the 25-26 school year.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the hire of Chelsea Caldwell as an ag science teacher on a 1-year probationary contract for the 25-26 school year. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Okay.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries.
Thank you, Janet, for keeping me out of trouble.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Is Mark up there? Yes, there he is. Let me see where I am with all of this. Oh, let me finish one more thing. I think I only had one more item. There was Cameron's, the administrative part of this, Cameron's contract approval for principal. I don't know how we did this, but somehow it kind of got passed over. Janet and I talked about that. He should have had, he negotiated his contract with you guys independently in the fall. And for some reason, I don't know how, he kind of got left off, didn't he? In terms
March
of,
15th, and it might have just been because Jim was not, it just.
Right.
Yeah.
it was between Janet and me somewhere because you had already made an agreement with him. We just didn't get it formally approved by you guys. That's kind of where we are with it.
Yeah, just.
Say what you wanna
just
say.
His rolling 2-year renewal.
It
It's
is,
March 15th.
yes,
We did not.
Yes.
put him on that list.
yes. And he should have been on the list with all the other teachers just down at the bottom. Yeah, so that was somewhere between Janet and me, an error on our part. But Hugh had given him a salary increase, and he agreed to a certain percentage for the next couple of years. If you look on the second page at the top, you'll see that. And then the contract period is listed on number 15 on the third page, so it's standard. You've already agreed to that. We just have to have it officially noted in the minutes that you approve that. If that makes any sense. There's nothing new or different here than what you've already talked with him about.
I put that March 15th wording that is the same as the teacher's contract in his so that we're covered in future years with principals and vice principals, because they're kind of,
Which wording is that?
that kind of like the teachers, if we don't tell them they're renewed by March 15th, they're renewed. If we don't tell them they're non-renewed or renewed, they're renewed.
It's
That's-
on.
That's in a teacher contract then, is where that language comes, because the superintendent's opposite.
It's opposite,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. And it's on number 15 down on the last page. is what it is.
Yeah, I read through that, but I didn't realize that was in the teachers. I guess we've
Yeah.
never really seen teacher contracts, I suppose, because
No, it's in the teachers,
we
yeah.
don't deal with the teacher contract, so.
Yeah.
Because now,
Well, that's just the March 15th state, like ODE, like procedural thing that it's in statute. If you don't renew their, like if you don't tell them they're not renewed,
Right.
your contract teachers, not your probationaries.
Right.
If you don't tell them they're not renewed, then whether or not you even have a March 15th meeting, they're renewed.
Right.
really, it's clever. So this contract is the contract we looked at in November.
Yes.
October, and it was only like the job description that somehow got rolled into a contract, and then we were gonna revise it into a contract.
Yeah, and we did make the revision. You guys asked for a couple wording changes in there, and that did get put in there. And then also you read now the wording for the whole, if you don't renew by the March 15th, whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
Did it, yeah.
is that state law? Red,
I don't know for principals and vice principal. I don't know for admin. But I think anything short of the superintendent.
I'm just curious. We had a question about that.
Yeah.
We don't have to have it in there, but it does mean procedurally that we have to remember
Right.
to renew those.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you don't have to approve that.
That's the part that makes, and it's
Yes.
nothing against Cameron, it's just for individual, like. If we forget 1 year to do it by March 15th,
Mhm.
and then they're automatically renewed, if that's not what the board wanted in that situation, then our hands are kind of tied. So that's the only thing I don't like about an automatic renewal.
I mean, I'd like to see consistent with the superintendent for, just so administrators are consistent,
The
so,
admin all the same.
but that's a minor thing. I think the bigger concern I have is like with Gail's contract, the superintendent contract, it specifically says, because this is a 2-year contract, it says what happens if there's a termination in that situation. And this doesn't spell that out. So I don't know if a termination happens, are we on the hook to pay that person for 12 months? Or is it just?
I think that's, I don't know. You might have to find out because I think not necessarily, which is why you might want that protection in for your principal and vice principal because I don't think they have that protection built in like the superintendent does.
Okay, so it could be negotiated differently within the. So that's something we're trying to learn.
Yeah, and that's what we're missing up with our old one, things like that.
Yeah, because,
We're clear. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not sure this is,
It's
Because
closer to what we have.
basically,
Yeah, we're heading.
they're hired by the superintendent under the superintendent's direction.
right. And I bring the,
That's your report.
yeah, and I'm sorry, Janet, you didn't interrupt. I bring the renewal to you and say it's my recommendation, by that March 15th deadline that we renew the contracts of this principal, vice principal, whatever the case may be. And then you go on that. You go on my recommendation. If I don't think they should be hired, then I'll say that I don't approve the recommendation. That's kind of how that's gone in the past. But I mean, if you want to look at it, you can. It's your district contract, but that's what we've done in the past with it. So,
And we can kind of research it further too and see what other districts do. That's something.
yeah,
Us.
it's up to you guys.
I also get confused that this contract is a 1-year contract, correct?
Which one?
The paper contract that we have,
No, they're all rolling 2-year.
Yeah,
but it says if we, oh, maybe I read it wrong. If we extend the contract, this contract's void.
Mhm. And then
It's
they're
extended.
under
Then it's another 2-year contract.
Yes.
right? And
yes,
so then we have the 1% raise in this particular contract for the
Fine.
next year. There's just a lot of stuff going on. If this is just the 2025, 2026 contract, let's just talk about that. And we can have that rolling part in there, but the money, the raises and stuff is kind of odd because that'd have to be approved every year anyhow.
well, you already
You guys
approved that for him.
Okay.
That's why we're asking for this because
Yeah, we're not
already
we're not
approved that.
asking- Yeah, we're not asking you to approve that. We're just saying procedurally, we missed renewing him.
right,
Okay.
And because we missed that, I took the opportunity to lump in some wording so that maybe we don't miss that in the future, but if you still want to go year to year, we can pull that wording out as far as the automatic renewal.
Can we do a year by year or is COSA saying that we have a 2-year cycle.
I think it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
2 years out with a 1-year
Mhm.
extension usually.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you just keep renewing the. 2
Yeah.
years now.
yes, and because you guys already negotiated and agreed upon that salary with him and the increases for the next 2 years, and that already means that next year and the year after, you have already agreed to that for him.
Yeah, I don't have a
Yeah.
problem
And
with
so-
the salary. I just,
Yeah,
when I looked at your contract, it
Mhm.
lays out,
right.
all the different factors, and this is pretty abbreviated compared to that. So
It's very different.
didn't know if
very
we had to be as strict or not, but
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not sure, is the board's not responsible for a principal, so,
Mm-mm. I am, and I recommend him to you for rehire.
yeah, so I mean, do we need to be as detailed? I don't know. That's kind of what I was thinking on the road today, so. Anybody else I'm talking to?
Well,
The only new piece in there is that
Yes.
Yeah,
From,
There's the no notice.
the automatic.
The automatic renewal.
oh,
At the very bottom.
and then, so.
And that was just, I think just continuity purposes, because, like, eventually I'm gonna retire, or, any of us retire, like, people in the know, and then, if we get a lot of turnover in the office or in the board even, that would just kind of keep it, so if we forgot that for some,
Mhm.
we'd at least have the 2 school administrators that would renew, even if the district board does not.
Mhm.
So,
It's a funny spot because it's not a policy,
yeah.
and so it just kind of gets left hanging out there. That's a funny contract.
Mhm.
It's kind of a hole.
Yeah. it is.
I think it's pretty typical, though. I think a lot of people do the rolling contracts.
Oh, yeah, I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that. I'm just saying the whole idea of the
Well, the word.
administrator contracts
Yeah.
just kind of floating around out there just because we're a small district, I suppose. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, so really, in essence, except for that language she added, all of this has been already approved by you guys because you negotiated that with him. We just didn't include it in the March 14th, and everybody else was getting renewed. That should have been in there. It just got overlooked for whatever reason. So I just wanted to have it on record that you have approved that. So I don't want any questions about it. If you want to change that part, then I guess that's conversation.
You can renew him without the.
Yes.
Without the, auto renewal changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can do that, and then we can.
I
Looking
think
at it
that's
at the time.
that's the direction I would like to head, because I'd like the superintendent to tell me every March. Yeah, I want
Okay.
a principal.
Yeah, we don't want to have a automatic, like, oh, shoot, we missed that.
I mean, we had that conversation, we just didn't
yeah,
on paper, but
Okay.
I think it's important to have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. okay. I'm fine with that.
So. Let's see, without.
Without that
so-
red,
Without the auto renewal.
So to approve the principal's 2-year rolling contract for 2025, 26, and 26, 27, without the auto renewal word.
her contract has the verbiage in it.
Well, the principals and the vice principals didn't have wording about it at all.
Well, I know, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you want good verbiage. It's in the superintendent contract on how that is not renewed without.
Well, so do you want it to match the superintendent's?
I personally would, but.
Okay.
I don't know what superintendent looks like.
It just said if you don't notify them, then they're considered non-renewed.
Right,
Yeah, that's the way that one read.
yeah,
That's.
Because you can always make a motion anytime after that to renew it. It just defaults back to a non-renewal until that
Yeah.
conversation's had.
Mhm.
That puts ownership on administration to make sure it gets done. Right?
So with the wording matching the superintendent's. contract.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said.
that's what Dwight
That was
said.
that was the motion I made.
That was the motion you made. You have a second for that motion, Dwight made.
Second.
Excellent, Dwight. What's the motion again?
To approve the contract with wording similar to the superintendent.
Okay, based on the contract period. renewal situation.
Correct.
All right. Any further comments or questions?
Got that, Jen?
Okay, so it reads, to approve the principal enrollment 2-year contract for 2025, 26, 2026, 27 school year with the renewal wording matching the superintendent's contract.
You want me to read that?
Do you want the vice principal?
Go ahead, you got it.
To do that as
May I
well?
read it?
Do you have something different?
So according to this says, notice of such contract extension or non-extension will be given by the board to superintendent or principal, not later than March 15th. Should no notice be given to superintendent by March 15th, the board will be deemed to have given notice of non-extension of this contract.
Now,
And this section.
That might
contains-
get tricky because you could get a pretty good administrator that somebody just forgot to renew.
But we can renew them anytime.
It's a rolling contract though, and you're doing it after every year.
Yeah. You have 12 months to renew it. But
Well, but they could decide to look elsewhere because they could consider themselves not renewed.
And they probably wanted to leave. it
Yeah, that's
as-
true too.
Okay.
they can't be that insecure. It's.
Well, yeah, no, I
Yeah,
sorry.
okay.
I have.
You're cut and pasted, aren't you? off
Right.
the-
Yes, I am.
Good
actually.
job. Let's make sure you
So
take
do
out
we-
superintendent.
I think so.
We're still in discussion. So, yeah, do we have any further comments, questions, or statements on this
I'm not saying anything.
motion on the table?
Be quiet and sit there.
All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thanks for the
Okay.
one in the meantime.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron, for the couple months of work,
Yeah.
Or
month and a half, whatever it's been.
without a contract. So,
Now-
Monica, we don't have to pay him for that.
I did.
I didn't think she squared up the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, God,
Yeah.
he's getting paid too much,
I
maybe.
like it.
Okay, now we need to go to Mark. I'm gonna skip to Mark and then we'll do the discipline plan update. Mark, we're up to you. Thank you for waiting.
No, that's okay. I apologize for being late. I got
okay.
home and just started jumping into home life and
I thought
completely let
so.
it slip past, so.
That's
Um,
all right.
do you want me to share my presentation from up here, Gail?
Yes, please, because they could not open the link. I could, but they
Okay.
could not. That's where
Okay.
we are with that.
So can we share it? Can you guys see that now?
Yep.
Yep, yep.
Okay, just make sure. Okay, so this is just a quick presentation of the application that we put in last 2 weeks ago for the integrated programs. And so what it is it's just a renewal of our 23-25 integrated programs with the addition of early literacy. So there's kind of the quick highlights for what's going to be going on here in the next few minutes. Purpose is just, and I do the purpose and the background piece just because I never know who all are new board members and who is here before when we've done it before. So I just want to make sure I'm consistent. That everybody's getting the same information about what this actually is, because I get a lot of blank stares when it's a new board member. So it's going to just kind of give you the highlights of everything here. How we developed it, how it came to be, and then all the pieces that it entails. And then at the very end, I'm going to, or actually Gail is going to ask if you guys were be willing to approve it. So the idea of the integration process was that it was going to lump together a whole bunch of different initiatives into one. So we're not doing 6 different applications, 6 different community engagements, 6 different budgets, and all this piece. And so the idea is to blend a lot of these similar funds together to create one cohesive thing. And the goal eventually is what I actually learned last week at the conference I was at, is that ODE is really pushing that the legislator allow them more flexibility to combine more things together. So there's less on Gail and less coming out in her direction with various reports and data. So they are actually trying to work that direction. I hope they get there faster than they have on other things. So there's all the different programs that they combine together. Some of them are funded and some of them are not. So some of them are unfunded initiatives. And so you still have to account for it in terms of reporting and alignment, but not all of them receive funds. So continuous improvements, unfunded, everyday matters, for the most part is unfunded. We receive some through the ESD that we use to support districts. Career connected learning is unfunded. High school success, you guys receive funds for. Student investment account is one of your larger ones. EIIS is they're hoping to change it so that there's a flat floor. Right now, I think if you guys go for it, it's like $300. So we've just kind of given up on that one and given that back to the state because it's not worth the extra reporting. Early literacy is the new one there, and we received a substantial bump in dollars for this one. CTE is all your Perkins stuff, so it's what for the most part supports all of your ag classes and any maybe minor additional classes you guys have besides the ag department. And then federal school improvement, there is money for this, but you guys have improved enough to get out of this. So congratulations to you. You guys actually got out of this at the start of the last biennium. So we have not had to do any sort of extra reporting and steps for this. So that's actually a good thing, is to move out of this last one. And then here's just the common elements, things that go into producing the plan, engagement stuff. So taking down notes and surveys and things like that from various meetings and parent surveys, student surveys, all those various engagements where you guys run into parents, students, staff meetings, things like that. And then we put it together into the needs assessment, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then just these are the common goals for the state of Oregon. Needs assessment highlights, just a couple of bullet points there about the needs assessment team. I didn't want to get into a whole bunch of detail because they're pretty involved little meetings. We met twice. The first one here was to do a lot of review of various data from all the different state tests and sources that we have for that. And then, so we reviewed data, reviewed previous outcomes and strategies and activities we used in the 23-25 biennium, and then also the activities that were a part of that budget too. So we could kind of get an idea of where stuff is being funded already. Our second meeting, so I gave them those documents there to review. Gail talked a lot about the data trends and where we were successful, where we saw improvement, where we need to see more improvement, and then also just some highlights about the fact that North Lake's data numbers sometimes can be misconstrued as passing or not passing, just based on one or two kids that can bring you up or drop you down, just based on the fact that you guys have such small class numbers and things like that. So there's some data points that are a little rougher than others to get good info from, but we're hoping over the next few years that we'll at least see a general trend upward on some of the stuff. That group then met again after they had a chance to review those documents on their own and bring further questions and ideas. And we tweaked some of the outcomes and strategies, looked at weaknesses, places we could strengthen some stuff, and then also reviewed outcome strategies and the activities, adding, taking away, and some things like that. One of the things that we like to note always out of your SIA and HSS dollars is you guys do a lot of funding for FTE out of those. And so it doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room for moving money around too much, because you guys do use it to pay for the ag program and to pay for alternative education and some IT and some things like that that are crucial for you. Doesn't mean you can't move those around if you ever really wanted to, but it's a very set kind of dollar amounts that you guys work with just a little bit of wiggle room in terms of some pet projects and activities that you can use to do some improvement to other areas, as well as those other ones that you're already providing FTE for. The early literacy is the new one down here. So we really had to look at that and how we prioritize those dollars in the last biennium, because we got them kind of on on a whim and a last minute vote by the legislature and the governor. And so they re-upped it for again this year and added quite a bit of money into the pot. That is one of their big focus. And so early literacy is K through 3, and with a little bit going towards pre-K. And so we really looked at that, and the state wanted us to actually write goals and some outcomes and strategies associated with those dollars. And we just couldn't leave that money on the table, and it pays for a lot of professional development that would have typically come out of one of your other grant funded areas like SIA. So it's actually helping to relieve some of that budget so those dollars can be used somewhere else. So our outcomes and strategies. Are you guys still able to see everything?
Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure here that everything's okay. And please, I'm just kind of looking at my presentation here and I don't necessarily see you guys. And so if there's a question, please voice it and let me know and
Okay.
just stop me. So you'll see up here at the top, and these would be the main ones I'll have you focus on, is that these are the new early lit ones. This is a whole accountability, and Gail can always talk to you guys more about where the state is going with this as far as accountability.
Mark?
goes. Yes.
Can you click on that link? All we're seeing is the title of it.
Oh, share this tab instead. Sorry about that. Did that pop up
There
now?
we go. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So you'll see these early lit ones, and this is where the accountability piece is going. They're becoming very articulated about how funds are being spent. They don't feel like Oregon is racing to the top fast enough. And so they have really pushed certain elements. And I can imagine this is the way a lot of funds or future initiatives are going to go. They're going to be very pointed. And so we developed these three strategies here, just kind of based on basically the three funding areas that you can do out of early lit. I don't feel like there's very many places, there are very many ways to reword these strategies, nor the outcome up here, because they've basically told you the strategies that they want you to use. They want you to spend it on curriculum, and they want you to spend on professional development and support staff in those grade levels. So I wrote some goals here with Gail's help and the needs assessment team as far as putting that together. And I used a lot of these same ones for all the districts in the county when we went through it, because they're so refined as far as the way our small districts have to spend their money anyway in order to achieve ODE's goals. And then down here, you'll see off to the right tells you whether or not it's a new goal, an old goal, or kind of one that we just edited. So you're going to see a lot of continuation. And a lot of that's based on the fact that you guys have some pretty entrenched FTE that relies on this funding, that you and the needs assessment team kind of is deemed as necessary, and don't feel like you want to just drop, right? I don't know if we want to just drop the ag program. I think you guys are pretty entrenched ag community that likes that piece. We did add a couple of new ones here. We'll create a more user-friendly website for effective communication with our school community. Not all of these are funded necessarily through the grant dollars. Some are, some aren't. Some are just outcomes and strategies that we've identified for the district. And then you'll see down here just a few. We talked a lot about graduation rates and getting those up, working with freshmen on track, math and reading scores, really looking at some of that stuff. And then down here with the support of the CTE programs. So that's where we're at with the outcomes and strategies. Is there any input for those? I guess overall, is there any changes or anything? The nice thing was we even had one of the board members on the needs assessment team. So they were able to also have some input on this too. So if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take that on this page.
Anybody?
All right.
Nope, we're good.
Okay. So key investments, here's the overall budget. I shrank this down so it was as succinct as I possibly could. They have all sorts of codes that business managers use and stuff. So I was trying to avoid flooding you guys with business manager codes as much as possible. So over here, you see outcomes and oh, let me share this tab
Yep.
because I guess,
Yep.
can you guys not see it?
Can't see it.
Okay. Let me. There we go. Is it up now?
Yep.
Okay. So over here on the left-hand side, you will see a bunch of the goals and strategies. So we have to always align any activities to some of our goals, those outcomes and strategies that we have. So you'll see them all labeled over there. And then you will see over here, and you can always ask Gail for this budget if you want to look at it in a bit more detail, but you'll see a lot of FTE type stuff, behavior specialists, school counselors, alternative ed. You'll see a lot of groupings of stuff here that all apply to kind of a single person or single cost, and then what goes with them. District-wide technology, along with payroll costs and all the supplies for it. K-12 CTE elective teachers and courses, CTE activities, a lot of the visitations and stuff. Cost quite a bit of money to take all the trips and do all the campus visits and things like that your students go out to. Once again, continuing some funding of the greenhouse and the greenhouse equipment. And then a lot of professional development all down here in the English language, because we had a lot of money to be able to get your teachers integrated into their new curriculum and into the new science of reading and stuff. And that science of reading is that heavy phonics type based science that actually we ditched years ago and has come back based upon a lot of studies and some states that have applied it. So and then down here, this literacy specialist and coach is where we put a lot of our extra funding in early lit. And that is going to help pay for some extra hours from staffing. We're hoping it comes from our Amy Fortune, who has been working with your teachers already. And this would actually pay for extra hours potentially for her and that program there, and working with those K3 teachers and pre-K to really get them all in alignment and get those reading scores up. So over here on the right hand, you'll see just kind of the overall budgets. All these zero amounts right there show that we budgeted all the money. This is all the budget amounts down here and what you receive for them. So you'll see that this early literacy was only 43,000 the last 2 years, and it's jumped up to 62 now. So we're accounting for a lot more money, and that drive from the governor for that early literacy. High school success, SIA are right around the same amounts that we've had in the past. Slight increases, I believe slight increases. And you'll see a little bit more in the next set of bienniums, just because they do a 49-51 split on the budget. So you see 49% the first year and then 51% in that second year. And then over here, so you receive approximately just over $1 million in grant funds alone that you guys allocate. So any questions on the budget? And I said, we can always ask for more details, and we can look into stuff a little bit deeper if you'd like to. Is there any questions about certain items on there that we want to look at?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so we've talked about already how the state understands success. High school success dollars look at eligibility requirements in terms of how students' absenteeism, some other indicators and things like that. Your CTE Perkins performance targets, which is done through High Desert ESD. They take the data and crunch it for us there. Federal school improvement, accountability data. Since you guys are not on one of the lists there, we get a little bit of relaxation around that stuff. And the longitudinal performance growth targets, they actually gave us a break off of redesigning those for this next biennium. So they're allowing us to operate off of the last biennium, which was designed over a 5-year period. So they're actually going to let us just keep looking at the data and how it's flowing rather than try to rework them. And then the local optional metrics is for schools that typically don't have enough students for this. And so the only one that did a few of those was like Paisley did them because they even fall below the threshold for the performance targets. So Adel and Plush didn't even do this because otherwise their kids are way too identifiable based on their numbers. So they weren't even given the option for optional metrics. And then progress markers are the actual, I apologize. The progress markers are the actual goals themselves and things like that that they look at and just check off. And those are our quarterly reports where we give indications about how we feel our goals are going. And then this is ODE, designs all that stuff for us. And this is all based around the state testing. So this stuff here is state testing along with attendance data and some other data they have about your student population. So they mix the state testing data with your population data, and then they come up with the designed goals. And that's where Gail and I report back on at the needs assessment team, whether or not and how well we're doing. And then Gail also talks with the staff and I believe reports to you guys also on this just to make sure everybody's on the same page with where we are and what's affected by it. So anyway, that is the integrated programs. And that is what we submitted 2 weeks ago. And so if there's any questions or comments, please feel free.
Anybody?
Not for me.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mark.
Hey,
Okay.
not a problem. Sorry, it's kind of one of those hurdles and hoops that we have to jump through to make sure everybody's on the same page. The state just wants to know that everybody's seeing the same things.
yeah, okay. And the board then has to vote to approve this, and we do that
Yes,
right now, right?
we need to make
You're ready for that?
we need to make a motion for approval.
Okay, right. So you guys have to approve this plan, it includes the budget, everything he just talked about, just in general, and make a motion, vote to approve it for the integrated programs plan for next
Do
biennium.
we have any discussion, public comment?
Any public comment on this? At all? Questions
Since you're here.
since you're here? Okay, no public comment. And then, ready for a motion. Okay,
My public.
You can be.
Hey, Mark, what role do you have in terms of overseeing grants within? I know from the Lake County ESD or, that level, but here at our North Lake level.
I have zero other than being a person of information and helping to, I guess, take anything from Gail and needs assessment and surveys and just helping process it all so that that's a smooth process for them. But as far as actually designing any of it, other than helping to navigate the application process itself, I really don't involve myself in like getting these funds directly or any sort of monitoring them other than making sure we're on track for all of our different reports and things like that, and that stuff's being submitted in a timely fashion. Does that answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any actual hand in the grant dollars themselves, other than helping make sure and facilitate where they're going and that everybody's on the same page as to where they're going.
and all our reports and everything get filed and with all the proper information and all that.
Yep. And a lot of it's allowable use type stuff too. So it's making
Yeah.
sure when that business manager or Gail or somebody says, hey, does this fit with inside? This is something we really need. Does it fit with inside one of our allowable uses to make sure that those funds get spent oftentimes before the end of a year or something? Hey, can we fit this in? Does this fall underneath it? Or, hey, we need to make some adjustments. Can we put this person or put this item underneath something and just make sure it follows those rules? And I just check back in with OD and sometimes have to verify some of those.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the integrated programs, budget and usage as presented. Is that what?
Perfect.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the integrated programs budget and usage as presented. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Perfect.
Motion
Thank you.
carries. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks very
Hey, I
much.
appreciate it, folks. Thank you for your time.
Yep,
Thank
thank you.
Okay, and then just give me some draft minutes when you get the chance, Gail.
We'll do it. Draft minutes.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank
Thanks.
you. Yep. Okay, I write that down, draft minutes. That's what they're waiting for. Everything else is done. Okay, thank you, guys. Okay, last thing is the discipline plan development update. You asked me for that last time, about where we were going with that, how far we had gotten. I asked Laura to chime in on this with me at any time too, because she's the only one here tonight that's been working on this with us. We started the conversation on that Friday workday, didn't we, with K-12, talked about what the issues were. A lot of people had things to add, chime in on that on a K-12 level. Then we spent about an hour, hour and a half on that. Then we split up. They had to do the early literacy stuff. So the middle school, high school teachers and I talked about it for a couple, 2-3 more hours down here. We just kept going. And tried to agree on what the concerns were, what our goals were, how we were going to best accomplish that, kind of some common understanding, some common objectives, goals, where we're going to go with this so that we weren't just all shooting from the hip, so to speak. So we kind of identified those to begin with. The elementary then, so we got quite a ways in high school, middle school. The elementary has kind of talked about it a little bit in PLC, which Laura could talk about that in a minute. But at the high school, middle school part, we kind of, they had listed all of their main concerns in terms of like just what discipline problems they were seeing and what they were concerned about and what we wanted to deal with. And we didn't really prioritize at the time. I think we're going to get there, but at the time they just kind of wanted to list them, which is what we did. Kind of divided them up into 3 categories, like minor, moderate, major offenses, and then kind of what we want to do at each one of those levels. And this was pretty much all guided by them. They were asking me questions. I was asking them questions. Okay, if we do this, then what's going to happen? So kind of got a nice framework, I feel. Shared that with the elementary, saying, here's what we did. It would be nice if you guys could follow the same system so that everything then aligns nicely. We don't really want 2 entirely different systems. So that's kind of about as far as we got. They talked about it a little bit, I think, at PLCs today, but I was in here with the EAs. So the conversation continues, and I think what they're working on is just making sure that whatever they come up with, it's going to follow a consistent pattern, and everyone has to be in agreement that yes, this is what's important to us. This is what we're going to support. And they agreed that everybody's got to be able to support everything. We can't have everybody going off in different directions on this. We kind of want it to be something that everybody can get behind, even though we know that it's going to be applied differently, quite differently at the elementary than it is at middle high school level. Because up here, you've got kids going around having 7 different teachers in a day and 7 opportunities to be late or do whatever. We have to deal with that differently than we do down here. We just have 1 teacher. So we're balancing that out, but yet kind of focusing on mostly the same behaviors. Anything else you want to add to that, Laura?
No, we just use the same document that they use. We're plugging in our behaviors that we're seeing that we're noticing. And then going through the major, minor, and things like that, adding different things to it. That, you know, first offense, what can the teacher handle in the classroom, and, you know, kind of going from there. So today was our first day looking at it. And we probably have another day to go through all the behaviors and add to it and
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. And then at some point, what we need to do is, I think, come back together as a K-12 and just put both the systems together then and kind of see if we can go like this, and if we have bumps or something is not smooth or isn't gonna work right, and figure out how we smooth that out. I see that as the last thing to do, but I feel like we're a bit away from the end of it. To me, I can think of a lot of, and I've had conversations with 3 or 4 individual staff members about their thoughts, who have come to me and said, well, what about this? And how, what about this? And it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of complicated. It's simple, but it's kind of complicated in a way to cover all the bases and do it the way that everybody wants to do it. So, and making sure that everybody stays on the same page and works through it together, where it's going to be a useful document. Everybody's going to be happy with it when we're done.
Just making sure that expectations are clear, and then what resources we have available as far as,
Right.
what steps and
Mhm.
what's available at each step.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was very happy with the conversation that we had on Friday, our work day. The middle school, high school teachers just really talked through some things, because they're not in total agreement either on what to do about certain things. So they had some good conversations about how to handle certain issues and ideas. And they're very good about agreeing and disagreeing with each other in a respectful way and throwing out their ideas and being comfortable with that. So that's kind of, we're working through some stuff that they have to come to terms with too, in terms of the staff. So I felt it was good, productive conversation. So yeah. But our goal is, we want to address the issues that they see in their classrooms and in the school in a way that everybody can support it. Because we all know that we have to support it and support each other in it, or we're not going to get too far with it. So we're trying to do that as we go along. I think everybody agreed with that, and that's what they want. So that's what we're going to do. So we're getting there, but that's the update. So.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all I have. Other than the end of the school year. The list of activities there is pretty short. I didn't really have time to update it, but there are about 1 million things going on between now and the end of the school year. Those are just the main ones on the calendar, but yeah, lots going on. So anyway,
When's the
That's
next work day to resume the?
well, we have to do it during PLCs, because we don't have any other work days left until the very end of the year, and they really only have maybe we might be able to come up with an hour or two, Laura, at the end of the year, maybe on one of those half days or something. We'll try, because we want to get as far through it as we can. They wanted to have it done by the end of the year, and we're going to get as far with that as we can. If we get it done, great. If we don't, what I would at least like to do, and that's one of the conversations I had with a staff member today, is at least get maybe our top priorities planned out and organized, so we at least know these are the most problematic, troublesome behaviors that we see that we want to address right off the bat, and then we'll just kind of keep working on it. But our goal is to get it done, see if we can. Yeah. It's kind of a big job. I don't know how you guys feel about it at your end of the building, if you think you can get it hammered out.
I think our discussion this morning,
Yeah. Mhm. Anything else you want to add, Cameron, since you were with those guys about that?
No, it was clarifying certain, some terminologies that the high school used and what would apply to the elementary. Kind of where 6th grade would fit more than, elementary, like tardies really aren't an issue with the elementary.
Right.
If they're tardy, it's generally not their fault. They're, in a transition. So it's your, what was the other one? Skipping class. What does that look like in an elementary versus they're not out sitting in a tree generally, or, hiding in the parking lot. It's where a kid's supposed to be outside doing something, he takes off. So it's those types of things, just kind of defining what that would look like.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So far, very positive conversation, positive project, I think.
One question on upcoming events and dates. What day is the last day for senior?
I have to pull up my calendar.
Is you gonna be able to work? Is that what you're wanting to know?
Next round of.
I was just working on this before you guys all got here today. Last day for seniors would be, if graduation is the 7th, and the last day for seniors is gonna be Thursday, the 5th. June 5th,
Thank you.
yes.
So I got a question, kind of off subject, but that new, the new program to send information out. Got a few messages on my phone, like,
Oh, Apogee,
yeah, we'd like you to join rooms, or we're now
Oh.
using rooms. I don't know, is that just coming to us board members? Is that going to everybody?
That's going to, so Apogee did send out the parent applications. But they only had about half of our parents on the initial one. So, but yes, the system is sending that out, inviting parents to rooms. What rooms is kind of that way to two-way communicate with the teacher. And there's one set up for every classroom. So high school teachers have 7 of them, you know, and elementary teachers have just the one. But that's where you can, so when you do sign up, you should be able to see all of your students. We're finding that's not the case. So we'll put word out to parents. If you're not seeing all your students, please call me. I can manually add them from where the system didn't get them in there. So that you can see all of your students, their classrooms. You should be able to go into the room and send messages to the teacher of that particular class. They have the capability to put like attachments and assignments, documents in there, you know, so like homework, if you have the capability to print it off there, and they can put it right there for you as the parent, and you'd have access to that. What else do they have in there?
I like the transportation piece too, with bus.
Yeah, we created rooms for the buses, and then we'll create rooms for the coaches too for next year. We didn't start that.
No sports you then will just be.
Yeah, we're gonna try
One
to
app.
transition it all to the app, and see how that goes.
and the rooms part replaces, if you're in elementary, I don't think any middle school or high school used the Seesaw, but Laura would communicate through Seesaw. That's what the rooms is replacing. So that's basically, if you think it like a classroom, like Laura's classroom, your teacher's classroom, that's if you communicate with their teachers as you used to do in Seesaw.
Sorry, this is the. And your kids will automatically roll up the next year, so you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
different.
Just
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
I've got the messages, I just haven't downloaded it.
so the thing that concerned me was I just got a text message that said, we're now using rooms. Click on this. I was kind of expecting it, but if I hadn't been, I'd be like, "Is somebody in Malaysia wanting my bank
Right.
number? I'm not touching this."
Gotten a
Yeah.
couple of calls. I can send out a robocall to parents that,
Sorry.
and then at the Night of Excellence too, we had flyers.
That's
and
fine.
parents
Okay.
explaining-
Well, if the word's getting out, then people
Yeah.
will be scared to
Yeah.
push the
Yes,
button, but
yeah. no,
I normally don't
And
click
this
on
is why
stuff.
we
I don't
wanted
know.
a spring rollout and not a fall
Okay.
rollout, so that it's a lot. We have a lot more time to kind of get word out to people.
Sure. I mean, if that text message would even said North Lake is now using rooms,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
That
But it
came
just
from their-
says we,
that
and
came
it's like-
from their system, so.
yeah.
I
that-
will actually, let me make a note.
You should tell
that could
them
be
that.
I
customized.
should
Would-
tell them that,
Yeah.
It would help.
because
Yeah.
that would.
That's a really good point.
It's supposed to update every night, so if we get new students registered today, they would instantly get enrolled
It'd be-
Yeah.
into the rooms for their teachers that night, so, you know, tomorrow morning they would show up if they were sending.
And you only got a couple weeks left, so maybe you don't need
Yeah.
to do it. huh?
Don't push the button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like 4 messages on it. This feels like.
No, I would be too. I'd be suspicious of her, like,
I
Yeah,
knew what it was, I just
Yeah.
thought it felt
Random
like curiosity.
yeah. But no, having it say North Lake is a good idea.
I'll, and actually I'm gonna set myself a notice to send that to, get all of them
Mhm.
tomorrow and text that to them.
So this is going to, I think I told you this before, this is going to connect with, it'll push out our Facebook posts for both FFA and North Lakes District. The only thing it's not connected to is a reader board. Other than that, if we put it in there, then it'll push out to everything else. So it's going to be less work, more effective. The only thing we have to hand do is the reader board. That's not connected to it. Just a different system. So that'll help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But there's still, I think we've still got a ways to training and retraining teachers. Please have that up,
Yeah,
during your school day. I mean, they don't have to answer right away during the school day. We tell them, put a disclaimer on there that, hey, give me 24 hours to get back to you because they might be teaching
mhm,
right there. But to have it up and at least take a look at it a couple of times a day so that they can see what messages are coming through. And on the elementary end, a whole lot easier because they're used to doing that with Seesaw. I think we're gonna have a little bit of work on the high school end, reminding them, please pull that up, please, please check that a couple times a day. Some of them are fine with putting the app on their phone. Some of them want nothing to do with putting the app on their phone. They want nothing to do with getting notifications after hours and stuff. And we tell them that's fine. You don't have to, but Monday through Thursday, we want you checking that. So,
mhm.
Well, and I mean, if we're gonna enforce a strict no cell phone policy in the school, then it wouldn't be a good example for the teachers to be looking at
No,
all the time
yeah.
either. So.
Right,
no,
yeah,
no, and they don't have to. They can,
No.
they can pull it up on their desktop
yeah,
and pull up that kind of that console
yeah,
dashboard for them to see that.
right. Because they have several rooms, one for each of their classes. So it's more for them to monitor. I want to be doing it on the computer, not on my phone, for sure.
There's
just
also
me.
a behavior component too, which I think the elementary's more excited about than the high school,
Mhm.
as far as tracking the behaviors. And so parents can actually see what good and bad behaviors, have kind of surfaced during the day, which they're testing it. I don't know if they're going to.
In each particular class, Janet? Yeah.
Yeah, there was the whole behaviors system.
Mhm.
And so I think the question is, that might be part of the discipline conversation, whether or not the high school wants to use it, if so, how.
Yeah, right. We just have to be careful about the personally identifiable.
Well, it's the parent.
Oh, just parent. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. When you said behaviors, I'm thinking as a group.
No.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Lord,
I got you.
I'd want to know if my kid's in trouble every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Pushing it.
You gotta log
Brad.
Yeah.
I like the menu, so we know what breakfast and lunch is going on. The events, that's tied to the website calendar.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
and I think that's been.
And it's both ways compatible, so you can type it on the calendar and it'll pop up on the website, or you can create it on the website and it'll kick over to the
Generated
calendar,
there.
which I kind of like. The only thing that isn't is Facebook. So if you just post on Facebook, it doesn't go to the website, or it doesn't go to the app. So you've got to post
Hmm.
in
In the app.
the app. And then you can click.
Yeah.
Send to Facebook as well. So you can click to send it to Facebook, send it to Instagram,
Mhm.
all there with one click, as long as you do it on the site.
Yeah. Which will be easy.
Alright, well, I guess next up is the executive session. That will go to under ORS 192.6602I. Yeah, can we take a 5-minute on that?
Sure.
Enact. Yeah.
Knowing all the way.
Jim, see Mark. We'll just go
Okay.
on.
We'll come back out of executive session at 10:05. Continue on with the agenda as questions and comments or future agenda items. Did you raise your hand, Preston?
No, I did not.
Okay,
So I think we already talked about this. We're good to have the next meeting on the regular, on the ninth, even though that's school's still going
We
on.
wanna do.
So, okay.
I would say so because it's not really any less busy
No,
the
right.
next week. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's busy all the time. So,
So the ninth, 6 o'clock.
yep.
Okay.
okay. Anything else? Future agenda items? I don't think there was anything we left undone from tonight. That's a carryover, is there? It's pretty short.
I think we covered it all.
Okay, all right.
So,
Okay, that'll do it.
yeah. Everybody good?
Yep.
Yep.
Call it adjourned.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you guys.
And I'm gonna put 10:06.
So plus side you go. I love.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
And
See if I can turn this.
Yuba City and Sacramento, some of the best of the. I don't,
Did not know that.
I don't know how to order it. At those places.
What are you ordering?
Pictures.
Just get the combo.